Okay, God bless y'all. My name is Brother Jonathan K.O. Real quick, I just want to share real quick about where I stand with this Black Lives Matter situation. If it's not clear enough to those who, tune into my videos, I'm always on the side of right. I'm always on the side of what righteousness is, even if it comes against me having to speak against myself, even if it comes with me having to expose myself and come against my ways and things of that nature, or whatever. Like, the bottom line is, right is right and wrong is wrong, and wrong is wrong and right is right. And the Lord, like, I never made that video yet. I've been kind of like all over the place trying to figure out which video to address first. But I just found my Hebrew Israelite notes as far as, debating the whole Hebrew Israelite. I know that was a request. I just found that, and I'm going to be addressing that pretty soon. But also I'm going to be addressing European American Christians. European American Christians. Now, I don't know if y'all know, but like, the Lord spoke to me, and it's funny because I didn't put it together, but like, I see it now. But the Lord spoke to me about African Americans, and then the Lord spoke to me about European Americans. And when he spoke to me about African Americans, he gave me the prophecy regarding Kaepernick. I forget. I gotta go back and find the video, but it was about how and the Jesse Smollett stuff, like, but it was about how we were going to like go out of our way and create like part of this was going to be our fault, put it like that. Like Jesse Smollett, I know people aren't talking about him no more, but that's a sign of reaching. See what I'm saying? And not even just reaching, I don't even want to say that term. That's a sign of lying. Okay, so we are at fault in regards to people like Jesse Smollett, because he represents us, unfortunately, meaning by our flesh, of the African American people in America. And then you got the Kaepernick situation, where the Lord didn't speak to me in detail regarding like right or wrong. He just showed me that it was going to come through sports, preferably literally football. So I got to go back and look at the videos. I got to really search and find them. I wish I could get a hand, and one of y'all could, like, or a group of y'all, but I feel like it was back in like 2015, 16. No, not 15. This prophecy was given about the whole Kaepernick situation. This was around 2016. So the latest I would say 15, but I don't think so. I think it was 2016, with the Kaepernick situation of things coming through sports, not race wars, but like whatever is what you're going to call spiraling out of control with this country, and how things are coming to a head with race and almost what you want to call civil war, or the brewing of it within this country, being on the brink of it, the brewing of it, whatever you want to say. And so that was about 2016 regarding that prophecy, but that wasn't given. The title's probably not the best, so it's not going to be easy to find. But anyway, regarding that was a prophecy also within African Americans. And I saw also that we were going to be the blame, meaning, excuse me, I didn't want to say the blame, but we were going to be at fault for starting a lot of the situations. And I connect that to, now looking back and looking at things a lot clearer, I connect that with people like Jesse Smollett, or even the Black Lives Matter, which took place, which erected in 2016. So even the Black Lives Matter organization, which is really not entirely for us. I think that what would be more proper for me to not look at it with such a conspiracy eye is if they change the title. I would back off from even like speaking against Black Lives Matter. I don't even care who runs it. I don't care. I understand everything is going to come to a head. I understand all this stuff is wild and crazy and out of control. I don't care if the Rothschilds ran it. But I think that it would be more politically correct and more assertive in what it's about if it was like titled something different, like dealing with like Black Lives Matter. Like, yeah, we matter, but that's such a broad title. Like, we should be told, and first of all, we're Africans, right? But we should be called like in this, and I'm not a part of it, but what I'm saying is I understand the injustice with police, and I'll get to that in a minute. Because what I'm recognizing, if anybody has the mind of Christ, and if you have wisdom, otherwise, if you can't understand this, you don't even have wisdom. But if you have wisdom, and if you have any understanding, you have to see that there is blatant racism in this country. And everything's not a conspiracy. Everything's not a hoax. Everything is not, because my family members have experienced it. You see what I'm saying? So my family members aren't part of a YouTube hoax. Now in my city of Washington, D.C., I cannot say that I've experienced it. My mother has experienced it in the workplace, but not on the police scale. But we do, and I do believe personally that the CEO of the company that I work at is a racist. And I believe that the one who was right underneath him is a racist. And I believe that they are, looking at the poverty of the predominant African American community as a lucrative means. However, I can't entirely, be blazing mad and red and hot, because at the end of the day, I see that we all have areas of whatever you want to call impartiality, right? Which is really what the Bible calls it, rather than what we call it in today's modern terms, which is racism. But I believe that we all can be impartial. I believe that I can be impartial. You see what I'm saying? I believe that I can be impartial on both ends, but I try my best to operate out of a righteous mindset. I could be impartial because I'm surrounded by my own people, which I see on a daily basis, and I see the foolishness on a daily basis. And I could be impartial when I see European Americans, because the racism that I take to heart in my city isn't police brutality. It's gentrification, which they'll never address. And the Lord confirmed with me that that's blatant racism, and it's actually what brings a curse upon you. And I'll try to put that video, when the Lord gave me a word for gentrification, I'll try to put that video in the comment section or the description box, whatever. But He's giving me a word regarding gentrification. And this is when you'll see, churches, African American churches, they experience gentrification, trying to shut them down and erect a new building. People think it's all about apartments, but it's not. It's not all about housing and apartments, because they will harass churches. They harass churches. Okay, they try to come into a community and change the entire community. That stuff is whack. That stuff is racism, and it's foul. And I've seen it. I've seen people, try to threaten my mother to try to get rid of her house. And I've seen people, when I say people, I'm talking about European Americans, try to, talk in this authoritative way to kind of like, I don't know how to word it, but they want to even take my grandparents' house, which is, like I said many times, an 18 bedroom. It's probably more bedrooms now because he's doing much more things with it, but an 18 bedroom, 6 bathroom, it's more than 6, well, no, it's about 6 bathrooms, mansion, right? And this house was there. It used to be a Catholic rectory, and it's been in, and it was there in the African American community in Seattle, Washington, okay, since the 70s, because he actually took it there from where it was once located. So he actually paid to get it driven there and placed there, because it wasn't there. It was literally a hospital in an area, matter of fact, up the street, right? But he got it moved, and he paid for it for $1 single. And yeah, and and I see how people, and he owned property across the street, property around the corner, property even further down, like, what I mean? So a lot of people, like, he's had his fair share of racism. He's had his fair share of people looking at him like he shouldn't have, like he's not worthy of having these things. Now we're talking about a man with a 3rd grade education, but he can build a house from the ground up, and pipes and all that, wiring and all that. Like, well, probably not the wiring, but some of the wiring, because I've seen him do that as a child. So, he's very skilled. 3rd grade education. Helped build the Kingdome, where you guys witnessed the Seahawks win championships at. Helped build that, along with my great-grandfather. So I come from those men, very masculine, very capable of holding their own. Now me, I'm more so about just the free speaking of the gospel. I'm not really, my love isn't there. I bless God though for what God has done through him. But yeah, I come from a host of strong men, and I wouldn't be a man if I couldn't speak up. Now I feel like there's a lot of beta men, a lot of men who have like a beta kind of character, and this beta character I see is the people who kind of like easily comply and easily agree with this Black Lives Matter thing, right? They just roll with the whole Black Lives Matter thing, right? I'm not one of those kind of people. I look at things more now as, okay, this is wrong and that's wrong. This is why it's wrong. This is how it's wrong. This is what should have been done. This would have been more proper or excellent. Doing things like the scripture says in a more excellent way. Or just, in a more wise mindset, operating out of a more, a wise way, train of thought. And so, I'm not gonna, one thing I don't like is that I don't like that my people stand with our race, right or wrong. I don't stand with nobody, right or wrong, okay? There's a problem with standing with people, right or wrong, okay? You got child molesters in your family, okay? And people, we've been standing next to these people, right or wrong. You've got, people who are mean to their mothers, standing next to them, right or wrong. People who, stand next to their baby daddy, right or wrong. Stand next to their gang or their block or their neighborhood that they roll with, right or wrong, or their co-defendants, right or wrong. Like, it's like a holding dearly and tightly, right or wrong, and being loyal to something that does not have an established stance on righteousness and what right is. It's just a right or wrong, and I don't agree with right or wrong, and I agree with only right. So I'm not going to be playing ring around the rosy like the guy who just got murdered in Kenosha, Wisconsin, playing ring around the rosy with the police officers, okay, with my children in the vehicle that I'm playing ring around the rosy in, okay, and I'm not also going to stand, I'm not going to be a European American or an African American standing next to, and when I say European American, I mean a European Christian American, okay, and just an African American period, because I'm not just a Christian, I'm an African American. So I'm going to say two things when it comes to me, right? I'm an African American and I'm a Christian. So I'm going to come against my African Americans and I'm going to judge my Christians. I'm not going to judge my African Americans, but I will judge my Christians, because we only judge those within the body of Christ. And so when I speak loosely like this, saying African Americans, I'm thinking about the Christians per se. However, you know, it could all be used as one, because like I said, I'm both. But when I speak against European Americans, first of all, I believe that a lot of them have covert racism, which are the Democrats. I believe that Democrats have a secretive racist characteristic that they hide, okay? And if they're not acting, and if they don't have that kind of character, then they have a character of just like the Republican side, which is like blatant racism, or just acting conservative and siding with everything that opposes black, but not acting like you oppose black, okay? So it's like what I've noticed with the Republicans, especially Republican Christians, because all Republicans think that they're Christians a lot of times. I've noticed a lot of times European American Republicans think they're Christian. Like, I'm a Republican, so I'm Christian. Like, it's almost like it goes hand in hand. When really Jesus told us to just give Caesar what is due to him and just go and live your life. Like, we don't associate ourselves with Republicans and with Democrats, but if you choose to do that, that's on you. It's not wise. You'll get caught up and you'll end up looking foolish at the end, because they are mere people and you're following people, okay? Now, Jesus was actually God in the flesh. He was the Son of God in the flesh. So you're not just following a mere man, you're following someone who was perfect in all his ways and actions. It's a total difference. And he was all knowledgeable, okay? He's omniscient, okay, on earth. The only thing that restrained him was the knowledge of when the Father was, or when he was going to return, rather, when the Father was going to have him return. And that was the only restraint that he showed us of human knowledge. Aside from that, it's safe to say that he had all knowledge, okay? But of course now we can say that he has all knowledge because he's back with the Father, and we know that, you know, I mean, you can look at the book of Revelation and see that he now knows. I mean, he's got the years added, the months added of tribulation. So, you know, he's given all that academics and all that kind of stuff. He's a mathematician and stuff like that. So he knows when he's coming back, this, that, and the third. He even told me that on the last the Feast of the Trumpets, we shall resurrect, right? And I ain't know nothing about the Feast of Trumpets, and that's between the time of September and October and stuff like that. But yeah, the police who shot the guy, they were dead wrong. Okay, it's no justifying shooting and asking questions later. Okay, that's thug mentality. That is dictatorship mentality. I don't care if he had a knife. I don't care if he was reaching for a knife. You shouldn't have to kill him. Like, you should be able to shoot him in his feet. You should be able to shoot him in his legs. Like, you guys practice testing your aim for a living. Okay, you get paid to test your aim. Okay, you're trained to test your aim. I got a buddy of mine, or he was somebody who I was affiliated with. He shot at the police in a stolen vehicle, and the police, and this is in the world when I was in the world, but the police shot his hand, okay, that was holding the pistol that he was shooting from. The police shot his hand that was holding the pistol where he was shooting from. Now people could say, well, yeah, you know, everybody's aim ain't all there. And listen, man, it was close range, okay? Close range. It's just no excuse. I mean, even the other police officers were shooting. I think what I believe is that a lot of these police officers, they don't look highly upon the African Americans and the African American community. Part of that is our fault, and part of that is them being evil and not being righteous. Because when you're evil, you look at everything negatively, okay? That's how it is when you're evil, okay? You don't see, when Jesus came to the world, he said, I did not come to the world to condemn the world, okay? So how much the more should we take from that if we're acting like we're citizens of righteousness, coming to protect and serve, or serving the community with the gospel, or serving the community with policing it in any shape, form, or fashion, being it getting a kitten out of a tree, okay, which happens, okay? Don't act like police are only for one purpose, you know, various things, you know. Police have different purposes, but they a lot of times we see that their purpose is being corrupted by murder, flat out actual murder, and it needs to be viewed the way it is. It shouldn't be looked at as anything else. I don't agree with no Christian being a police officer. If you're a Christian, you should not be a police officer, flat out. It's like the video, I don't even care how you feel. Apparently, like, if you guys can get anything from me, I'm pretty sure you guys can tell that I don't care about anything that you guys think about me, unless it has to do with me actually being wrong, like blatantly wrong. Like, I have to even assess the situation to see that I was wrong. Like, I have to literally assess it. Other than that, I don't even care what any of you think. But no one should believe, and I don't even care what you think as a Christian. Like, I have to literally, like even Paul said, I will be judged by nobody. It is God who judged me. You know what I mean? Like I judge myself so that I may not even be judged by you. You understand what I'm saying? And but if I'm wrong, then I stand at your judgment. But all this other stuff, like if you're not sounding like Jesus, you're less of a Christian to me. Like, if you don't quote the things that Jesus quote, you just become less of a Christian in my book. Now, if you're one of these Christians who, and I don't even care how you feel about that, it's just that you're not following Jesus, so you're less of a Christian. You know what I'm saying? It's just like when I'm operating out of lust, I'm less of a Christian. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's just the bottom line. Like, there's no escape route for this than repentance and getting back on one accord with Jesus. It's just that way. And so we have to just get that in the core of our heart. But what do I want to say is that yeah, there's just no excuse. There's no excuse for just flat out murder. There's no excuse for that. And there's no excuse, and there's another thing. You're not going to see me in my vehicle playing Ring Around the Rosie with the police officers, with my child in the vehicle, and with me not even having my child in the vehicle, especially with my child in the vehicle, okay? You know what I'm saying? Now understand something. I know about how police officers can be. I got a friend whose cousin was raped by a police officer. I know two people who was raped by police officers. I got a male friend whose male cousin was raped by a male police officer while he was detained in a precinct. He was being raped by a police officer, and then he killed that police officer. This is in Washington, D.C., okay? He killed that police officer because he got a hold of his pistol, and he has life in prison, okay? This man has life in prison, and he got raped by a police officer. So, you know what I mean? Like, a lot of people don't really get a chance to hear stories like this. I don't know the man's race. I don't know the police officer's race. I do know that there's a lot of African-American police officers. This is why I have to be careful to be very sensitive towards those who were raised in predominantly European-American neighborhoods where they experience racism. Me, I haven't experienced a lot of racism. I've experienced very little racism, to be honest with you. Even with me saying that the CEO of the company that I work for is actually racist. But me, myself, I've even checked him verbally with my own mouth. And I've come and corrected him, and I've seen him apologize. And when I say racist, I don't mean like David Duke, flat out David Duke with the whole, dunce hat, looking like a Ku Klux Klan member or something. I'm not one to say that that is what racism generally is. Like, racism can be something slight, but yet still in the operation of things that are not pure with handling a race and coming off as superior and talking down to someone as inferior. You see what I'm saying? And so I believe that we also do that as African Americans. I can attest. And I believe that also European Americans do that among each other. Now, I'm going to address this furthermore on another video, but I notice in my observation of my 30-something years of life, right? And I say 30-something because eventually you start to recognize things more the older you get. So I'm not discerning everything at 8 and stuff like that, 6. But in my 30-something years of living on this earth and observing European Americans, I have observed that a lot of them pretend to like be okay with African Americans, and they live a pretending life, and they act very passive. They act very passive aggressive. Like they'll do something to you in a sneaky way, and they'll get back, but they'll do it very passively and stuff like that. Or they'll act like they're with you, but they're really not with you. And I've observed this just in my life from looking at stories of people's lives among me, and seeing how they operate, seeing how they address confrontation, seeing how they confront matters, seeing how they operate even in the sanctuary. Like when I was in fellowship with them, you know what I mean? Like the fellowship was very whack and corny. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think that all European Americans should be grouped as one because you have different types. And I believe that a lot of African Americans, from what I've been told, they get along more with European Americans from the South and the Midwest. But here on the East Coast, they're very fake and flaky and phony. I've noticed that. But I also have noticed that a lot of people down south who are African American deal with them in it's easier going, because it's like either you're racist or you're like not racist at all. You see what I'm saying? But like in the East Coast, it's more of a it's being fake, and you know, when you come in this area, it's more political anyway. So you're dealing with politics. You're dealing with phony characters. So I'm saying New York, which is the unofficial capital of this country. DC, which is the capital of this country. It's politics and it's fake. People are fake. Okay, and they racist is all outdoors. but they still pretend like they're not, but they do a lot of fake stuff to act like they're not. So I'm saying, like, I remember the guy who's right underneath the CEO, he walked past me, and he said, fight the power. Underneath his breath, he said, fight the power. And I was like, what the hell was that? You know what I'm saying? And I know what I heard, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, whoa, he just said fight the power. Like, and then another time, my man Slick, who from New Orleans, he was with my other man named Kelvin. They was at the trash can, you know, just kicking the Willy Bobo, smoking cigarettes on their break. And this same guy I'm talking about, this same racist guy I'm talking about, who's underneath the CEO, him and a chef, who I believe was racist also, because, you know, the food industry is crazy with racism. But the chef and the guy underneath the CEO, he sees these two guys I mentioned, and they're like, what are you boys out here doing? First of all, like, the dude said, I don't get called boy. Like, we don't do that. I'm from New Orleans. He said, we don't do that boy talk. Like, hold on, you need to get it together. Like, you know what I'm saying? And he was ready to piece them up too. He was ready to mix them up and put them together on them, and show them how you get down or whatever. But it didn't go there. But you know, they apologized and humbled themselves. And you know, and I'm gonna tell you this too. Virginia is flat out racist. Okay, they're a little bit more. DC is like night and day in Virginia. They're a little bit like, when you cross that bridge, they ain't scared no more. DC, they scared. And the further down south you go in Virginia, they not scared. But even across the bridge, they not that scared. I will admit that. And also, the further out Maryland you go, they not scared. You know what I'm saying? When I say further out, I mean in the countryside of Maryland. They not scared. But and they show, when I say not scared, I mean like they show you how they feel, and they are racist. But anyway, yeah, I feel like we need to stand for what's right. Don't be on nobody's side who's just Black Lives Matter, because all these fools ain't on point. Like, if anything, we need to be standing up, and I don't even mean standing up like protesting, because I'm not with the protest, but I mean voicing our opinion in the sense of when I say standing up. Like, if you're going to be on social media, but don't get with that protest, because you're not like-minded with these people. You don't know them. Don't link up with them. Don't go march with them. Use a fool, right? But if you were to, like, you know, speak in the church, or speak, you know, on social media, or speak in the workplace, or speak wherever you speak on YouTube, going to and fro, people like Breonna Taylor, she needs somebody to speak up for her murder. That was wrong. See what I'm saying? Like, she got shot. They didn't have, and I know what it's like to have your door kicked in on numerous occasions, but I was guilty because I was a drug dealer. She was connected to a drug dealer in her past who wasn't currently living with her, and she's reaping the